What's up, everybody? I am your host, a hard-nosed, pissed-off dad out for revenge, and that is my co-host, a demon bat thing from hell who ate my son. And welcome to the Grindhouse Syndicate, where today we are doing a bit of a double feature. We figured since last week's movie and this week's movie take place during the same week, we might as well continue the story. So in this episode, we are discussing Victor Salva's Jeepers Creepers 2 from 2003. I am so glad that we covered these movies together because one awesome thing about both of them is they share some really great continuity. This is very much two stories that are essentially one, and I love that. And I feel like covering Jeepers Creepers 2 just by itself would have been sort of like reading one half of a book one year and then trying to read the second half like a year later. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I have always found this as a really solid sequel.
Yeah.
I guess sequel, and I guess it did take place after, but almost during the same time. There's same spring in the Jeepers Creepers world. A lot of continuity here.
Yeah.
Definitely with the Creeper. I love that they kind of give us some information on what happened with the first one.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, the continuity is fantastic. I remember the first time I seen this movie, thought it was great. Well, absolutely loved it. I remember, we lived in Florida. I was probably, God, I don't know,
child
10,
age.
9 or 10. What year did this come out?
2003.
2003?
Yeah,
So I was 9 years old. Yeah, big 9 years old. And I remember loving it from the first time I seen it. Definitely not the first one, but it has a lot of continuity. You can tell that they came out close together.
And done by the same people.
Yeah.
Another thing, and this is, probably just a benefit for me, but I jump into a new horror movie universe every single week. Like I spend, 15, 20 hours a week working on these episodes. And it was nice to kind of spend some time in one universe or like one story for longer than, like 4 days. So that is kind of a benefit that I enjoyed out of doing, because the only time we've ever done this is we did it with the Fear Street because it was also one big storyline that all went together. But yeah, this is the first time since we did Fear Street where I really got to kind of not have to move on to something so fast. And let us know if you guys feel the same way. Like, do you like getting a movie and a sequel back to back, or do you enjoy something new and fresh every week? I don't know, might do it again with another movie down the line.
It's weird. There's something to be said there with Fear Street being the only other one. It never feels right to me to do a movie and then do the second one a week after. Like, it's never even a thought that I entertain. The only times I've ever done it is when you suggested Fear Street and then you suggested this. And I think it is the continuity. I think a big part of it is it feels right because of the continuity of the movie.
Yeah, I think there's just some movies, and, not even close to the majority, but there are some movies that you really should tell the story with, the original and the sequels together. If we covered just any kind of movie, if we didn't just do horror, like a good example would be Back to the Future. You have to tell the Back to the Future story, all three movies together, because it is one story, essentially. And I think that is the same thing with Fear Street. That is the same thing here. I did find out, because we kind of talked about it last episode, that we couldn't really remember much from the third one. I did find out that the third one goes right along with this. Like, we kind of just breezed over that, but the third movie actually takes place...
That's the movie with the hand, right?
Yes, so it actually takes place right before this movie.
Yeah.
And it explains some stuff in this movie that some complaints I had, and it explains it. And it even used an idea that I had. I don't remember if I mentioned it in the episode or not, but I had an idea of like, well, this is the next movie they should make, and ended up doing it in the third one, which I didn't remember the third one. So,
I don't know. I from what I remember of the third one was that I just think it wasn't executed well. All I can remember is that fucking hand scene,
okay,
and I remember, like, him getting the visions when he touched the hand, and I hated
yeah,
hated that completely.
hate that. The creeper looks weird, which I think is the biggest issue with
That's
it.
a huge issue, and that's
But
one thing that makes these 2 movies go so good is the creeper looks the
so
same.
let me at least say this in the defense of the third one, and I totally didn't remember this until I started researching this. So the third one is the police that were attacked in the first one go after the creeper. And the old lady you're talking about with the hand, she is the mother of the Kenny character who disappeared on prom night. And they literally show that scene, I guess, of the creeper taking him. Remember, the creeper took him and his girlfriend or whatever on prom night. And that is where the hand comes from, because when the Kenny character was being taken by the creeper, he managed to chop the hand off, and his best friend kept the hand and eventually gave it to his mom. And that is the old lady who has the visions or whatever. And the police are trying to track down the creeper, and they end up bringing in this team who is trying to kill the creeper. And that is the guy who touches the hand that has the vision. Yeah. So there are some things that go right along with 1 and 2, but then they also managed to fuck it up a little bit too, as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, when I watched the third one, I hadn't just watched the first and second one too. So when you like bring in the Kenny character, like that's such a small part of the first one. It's something that they mention, but you don't ever like they're not characters in the movie. They're
Yeah.
just talked about. So I don't remember the details of the third one, but I would imagine when I seen that, I probably was like, "Who the fuck are they even
Yeah.
talking
Yeah,
about?"
I agree. I agree. So the real order you should watch them in is 1, 3, and 2. That's the actual order. The fourth, I believe, is just a reboot. So I don't think that has anything to do with this. But yeah, I was impressed to find out that the third one went along with these two.
Well, would you watch it 1, 3, and 2? Because 2 takes place literally 4 days after 1.
3
So
takes place the day after 1. Yeah.
hmm.
So, all right. So with that being said, are you ready to jump into Jeepers Creepers 2?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do it.
Hello, boys and ghouls. If you want to stay up to date on what's going on with the show, talk about or submit your movie requests, or just say die, then I got good news for you. You can always find us at one of our social media accounts or our official website at Grindhouse.Horror.Pod.com, Facecrook at the Grindhouse Syndicate Horror Podcast, Instascam at grindhousesyndicate.horror.pod, and many gore, which you can always find links for in the show notes as always. And you know what I always say, the morgue, the merrier. So please subscribe or follow for alerts on new episodes. Now, back to the show, kiddies. Frights, camera, action.
And if you really love us and don't want us to get trapped on a bus with a bunch of shirtless, moody teenagers, give us a review. Jeepers Creepers 2 is a 2003 American horror film written and directed again by Victor Salva. The film portrays the Creeper, a demonic creature and mysterious serial killer who pursues a school bus filled with high school students. It stars Ray Weiss, Jonathan Beck, who reprises his role as the Creeper, and a bunch of first-time actors whose names you probably will not recognize. It was produced by Maverick Pictures and American Zoetrope, had a much bigger budget than the first one at $17 million, and a box office of $63.1 million. The first one only made $59 million, so this movie actually did better, which was surprising.
I could see that, though, with as good as the first was.
I think the first is a lot better than this one, but
I agree, but that's why people went and seen this.
It's true.
You know, if when the first one came out, there was no precedence for people to go see it.
So, according to Giant Pile of Shit Victor Salva, he originally came up with the idea for the whole 23rd spring for 23 days thing because he had zero interest in doing a sequel to Jeepers Creepers. Unfortunately for him, mentor and producer of the first one, Francis Ford Coppola, found a loophole in that rule, telling him to write another story that takes place right after the events of the first one. He originally planned to write a story which involved Trish and Giselle seeking revenge and going after the creeper for killing Derry, with the school bus being just a subplot. Now, there is a big misconception that Gina Phillips, who played Trish, turned down her chance to come back. But according to her and Salva, this is not true. What happened was while Salva was writing the script, he realized that the high school students trapped in the bus should be the main plot, pretty much leaving Gina Phillips sidelined for the sequel. Now, unlike the first one, which was filmed in Florida, this one was filmed on a closed strip of road at the Tajon Ranch located in California and inside a converted airplane hangar located in Long Beach, California. The film took about 28 days to film, with the cast and crew working on average 13 to 14 hours a day, which can be seen on the short documentary A Day in Hell, which is a behind-the-scenes extra that is included on the DVD. There were a total of 4 buses used for filming, with one being a custom-built bus used for interior scenes, with all 4 being destroyed after filming wrapped. Most of the crew that worked on the original agreed to return for this one, including Brian Pinicuz, who worked on the Creeper's makeup in the original film, saying in the behind-the-scenes documentary that it usually takes about 4 hours to get Jonathan Beck into the Creeper costume. In September of 2015, Jeepers Creepers 3 was officially greenlit. The film was slated to begin filming in April 2016 until production was halted when Victor Salva was boycotted from filming in Canada for his criminal past. The film was eventually released in a one-night-only showing on September 26th of 2017, 14 years after the release of Jeepers Creepers 2, where it only grossed $2.3 million.
Yeah.
Now, all right.
I just want to say, the fact that they filmed this in 28 days, I'm disappointed that they didn't cut it down to 23 days. Like, if you were already that close, you should have put in the fucking work. Got it done in 23 days.
We also only get a sequel every 23rd spring.
Yeah.
Yep. So ratings. This is kind of interesting. So Rotten Tom, 25%. I got the first one here too, so we can compare them. So the first one got 46%. IMDb, a 5.7 out of 10, with the first one getting a 6.2 out of 10. Letterboxd got a 2.7 out of 5, with the first one getting a 3.1 out of 5. But this is where things get weird. The Google average audience rating on Jeepers Creepers 2 is a 4.4 out of 5. The first one only gets a 4.
Yeah,
What?
I don't know.
People genuinely think the second one's better?
People are confused.
They must have clicked the wrong thing.
Yeah.
The internet's hard. It's hard sometimes.
Yeah, that's confusing.
Let's see. It's literally 0.4 better? No way. That's wild.
If somebody wants to argue that this is as good, which I don't think it's as good.
No,
but if somebody
absolutely
wanted
not.
to argue that, they do some things, they take some risks in this movie that I think pays off really well. And I think it's really smart that they brought in the same makeup team, because they show the creeper a lot more in this movie. And that is a huge risk to take. And you got to do it right. And you got to have the makeup's got to be the same. for continuity purposes, but you also have to do it in a way that is pays off on the showing him more, and they do.
Yeah.
And some people may like that better because they get to see more of the creeper. So I could see people saying it was as good, but story-wise, no, the first one definitely is the better movie.
So I'm gonna save my opinions on the two movies for the end because that is gonna factor in. But I do want to say, so this one had a far bigger budget. I mean, it had $17 million, and even seen Salva talk about this, where when he basically took that extra money and he added it to action scenes that he originally wanted in the first one. The first one only had a $10 million budget. So he had almost double the budget, and this movie is a lot more action packed than the first one. I think that's maybe where people rate it higher than the first one. The first one it has better characters. It's a kind of a better story. This one is just more entertaining, I think, for a lot of people.
Yeah, one thing that stuck out to this movie from when I first seen it when I was a kid, when it first came out, that really stuck with me is it gets going from the very beginning.
Yeah,
Like, it is literally
the pacing's great.
from the very first scene, it's on and it goes the whole time. Whereas the first one kinda takes a little bit to kinda get up to speed with shit going down.
Well,
But, I mean, I will say, character-wise, the first one, the characters are fantastic. There's some awful characters in this fucking movie.
just about almost, besides maybe two are not good in this movie. Yeah, it's just more entertaining, I think, for the general movie watcher. But yeah, the first one's far better. And another thing the first one did was, remember, they made you think the creeper was a man the first half. We didn't find out he was a monster until he kills the cat lady.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's when we finally get the reveal of his face
It's
and
hard to
realize
even think of that because I feel like my whole life I've known of Jeepers Creepers, and it's
it's
hard to think
ma'am.
of watching it for the first time and it not being this supernatural creature.
Yeah,
I don't even remember seeing Jeepers Creepers for the first time. I feel like I was born.
I do.
Although it came out in, I think, 2001, I feel like in 1994 I was born with the knowledge of the
You're
creeper.
just already born with the creeper being a beast and not a man.
But it feels like.
Yeah, I remember being kind of taken back a bit when they did the face reveal when I first seen it, but I remember distinctly the night I've seen it for the first time. So, if you would like to watch this movie, you can currently find it streaming for free on Tubi, the Roku channel, and Pluto TV, and for rent on Fandango, Apple TV, YouTube, and Amazon Prime for $2.99. All right, so let's dive into the plot of Jeepers Creepers 2. So we start out back in Poho County just for 4 days, just 4 days after the events of the first film. And we immediately get a black screen that says every 23rd spring for 23 days it gets to eat. And this is day 22. So basically the creeper has today and tomorrow to stuff his cheeks full of food like a squirrel before hibernation. So we cut to a farm where we see little Billy Taggart setting up some scarecrows in his father's cornfield. One thing I hate about this opening scene is how fucking yellow it is.
Yeah.
It's got so much yellow filter on it, it doesn't even feel like the same place from the last movie.
No, it's just this opening scene too. It feels different from the rest of I get most of the rest of the movie takes place at night, but even the daytime bus scene feels different. Like, I don't know where they were going with the color filter. It's like a completely different movie. Yeah, it's very strange. There's one part with the dog too, where I'm pretty sure that they just green screened the rest of the cornfield behind the dog for some reason. I don't know if they couldn't get a dog on set or something, but because the color filter's so yellow, it's noticeable.
So apparently, the reason for this yellow was because this cornfield was filled with rattlesnakes. So they ended up filming this scene right as the sun came up, like super early in the morning, in order to avoid the snakes. And then they had to go back and put this stupid ass filter on it to make it look like the middle of the day.
Mm,
I did. I ended up finding an answer for it because it is so out of place from the rest of the movie.
yeah. Yeah, agreed.
So while Billy sets this shit up, we meet old Jack Taggart Sr., Billy's dad, and he seems kind of like a dick. He at one point tells this little kid, that he's not getting any food until he finishes setting up his scarecrows. He said, "Don't even come in to
Mm.
eat until you're done."
Gotta get the work done on the farm somehow.
We also briefly meet Billy's older brother, Jack Jr., who we are going to call Junior throughout the story to not confuse him with his dad, Jack Sr. They have the same goddamn name. So anyway, while Billy is setting up this scarecrow, we see that the one next to him has become quite popular with the local murder of crows, which we seen in the last movie. They really like the creeper for some reason. It's like he's got pets. I
Maybe
don't
he
know.
feeds them.
Maybe.
Maybe when he's chewing like pieces of people up, he just like spits it in the mouth of the birds, like they're
Yeah.
like the bird mom.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's a good image in my head. So while Billy is struggling with this scarecrow, out in the corner of his eye, he thinks he sees the other scarecrow move. And spoiler alert, he does. So feeling a little creeped out, Billy decides to go investigate. And when he walks over to it, he notices this scarecrow has like monster feet with these huge claws, which I actually disliked because in the last movie, he was wearing like human boots. Now, how would he have put those goddamn boots on with these gigantic talons? Like,
I
what
don't
was
know.
going on there? So anyway, Billy sees this and he takes off running back towards the farm when suddenly the creeper leaps off the post like 40 feet into the air and lands on top of Billy, taking him to the ground. When this happens, Billy screams for his dad and brother, who pretty quickly run out to the corn to help him. But unfortunately for them, the creeper takes off running, dragging Billy behind him.
Bro, he is dragging the fuck out of this kid.
He is. I'm personally surprised that his dad and brother reacted like this, considering they've kind of been treating him like shit this whole movie. It's like no one likes Billy.
Well, they gotta get the scarecrows up somehow.
They're taking our worker,
like-
goddammit.
Like, how the fuck are we gonna get these scarecrows up? We're not doing it ourselves.
So they're running through this cornfield, and right before they catch up to these two, we see the creeper leap into the air where he spreads his bat wings and quickly flies away while still holding Billy, prompting Jack and Junior to watch in shock as the creature disappears into the sunset with this little kid.
Very quickly, to
Yes,
say.
he's very
That's-
fast.
One thing that I don't like about this movie is a heavier use of CGI, but that could be done better. I'll
Okay.
say that.
So
Because he flies off so goddamn fast that it's like it's like he's moving at the speed of fucking faster than the speed of sound.
Billy's
Like-
skin's all ripped off from the force of the wind by the time he gets where he's going.
Yeah, and it's multiple times in this movie where he flies up and it's just so fast. It's like faster than a goddamn F-22.
So speaking of CGI, before I forget about this, so Jeepers Creepers 1 had 5 CGI shots in it. Jeepers Creepers 2 had over 120 CGI shots in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll bring that up in my rating, but definitely heavy on the CGI.
So after that, we then jump to the same highway we saw in the last film, where we arrive at a school bus filled with a high school basketball team that is heading home from their championship game. So next we head inside the bus, where we see all of these hyped up teenage boys chanting this. I don't know. I guess it's like a team song,
This awful thing
yeah.
about cocks and
something.
beating the other team to death.
Yeah, what every school song sounds like. When an exterminator truck passes by, showing their support by honking and waving. I feel like you don't see this with company vehicles much anymore. Like, you remember that a lot of company vehicles used to have something stupid on top of the car or the truck.
Yeah, I didn't I was starting to put this in my notes, and I erased it because I figured this would just get skipped over, but if I owned an exterminator company, I would definitely have a roach on the top of my company
Well, that's what
vehicle.
everyone's hiring you the most for. Yeah, I feel like
That's awesome.
yeah.
Like, I wouldn't wanna drive that around as my
No.
personal vehicle, but what better advertisement than a fucking roach on the roof of your company vehicle?
Well, I mean, I kind of miss when, you had stuff like the Pizza Planet truck had like the rocket on top. Like this used to be a thing. And then like the little magnets, business magnets came out and then wraps came out. And now we don't have anything cool. You remember the Napa Autos parts truck had the little hat. Has a hat on it.
It's fun for kids.
It's
Like, I
fun for
remember
me.
being the kid and seeing stuff like
Yeah.
that and being like, "Oh, that's cool. It's a bug on a truck." Like,
Yeah. It's just they don't
that's
have it
awesome.
anymore. It just doesn't exist anymore. So, as this truck passes by, we then see on the screen it is now day 23, which is the last day the creeper has to enjoy his Poho County buffet. We also see that there are a few cheerleaders on this bus who seem very annoyed by the team chanting, 2 coaches, the team manager, a school newspaper reporter, and the driver. There's got to be like a second bus. Like, there's no way, like, this is the whole team and definitely not the whole, like, cheerleader squad.
Well, I thought that too, but I thought it was a football team. So I
It's a
was like, "There's
basketball
no
team, yeah.
way." I guess for a basketball team,
I
high
have
school there's
no
only
clue.
5 players that play at once on a basketball court.
I have no idea how many players on a basketball team. I don't think I've
Well, I
ever
don't
even
know. If
considered
you
that.
had a whole, like, starters and backup, it'd only be 10 players.
I don't know, but it's definitely not all the cheerleaders. There's only 3.
Well, this is not the biggest
Nah, I don't
the
know.
biggest towns.
If you
This might be, like there might be all of, like, 7 girls that go to this high school.
I mean, if you only got 3, just don't bother bringing them. You get there and the other team's got 12 and you got 3, it's automatically like, fucking up the team's mindset. It's like walking in there and all having tiny peckers and everyone's got big old 8-inch peckers on the other side of the court. You're like, "We're gonna lose. Our
Yeah.
tiny dicks are gonna slow us down."
I don't know. I think 3's better than none.
I'd just take none. I'd be like, "Ours are too busy shooting Sports Illustrated right now. They couldn't make it." That's what I would say. So while the girls are talking, we find out that one of them, named Rhonda, is dating the star player Scotty, who she is not sitting with currently because he's a total asshole and says that he needs time with the guys, which when the camera pans over to him, we see he is not celebrating with the rest of his team because he is too busy being pissed off sitting in the back by himself. So while the girls are talking about this, we see the bus suddenly blow a tire, which causes it to swerve a little before it ultimately comes to a stop in the middle of the road. And this is where we meet Coach Hannah, assistant coach Barnes, who we actually saw in the last movie playing a different character. If I remember right, he was Roach the car thief, and which is funny. There's a roach on top of there's a roach in this movie too, technically. And the tough take no shit bus driver Betty. So they get out and they check the blown tire, which now looks like the side of our couch after the cat has sharpened her claws on it. It's pretty shredded. When Betty then discovers what caused the blowout, we then see her reach her hand in and pull out a kinda ninja star looking thing made from bone and some kind of heated up metal, which the creeper was kind enough to decorate with a tooth.
I love that he decorates it with just one molar.
Yeah, just the
Like,
fact
not
that he
even
decorates
multiple.
his weapons is cool.
I love that we get to see more of his weapons because we do see him working on shit in the first one,
Mhm.
like, especially at the end where he's got Derry, like, fucking in the factory. But we see him working on some shit. We get to see a lot more of that. We also get to see what 1,000 years of waking up every spring.
Yeah.
You get a lot of extra time on your
You do.
hands to make some cool shit.
Did you notice he's still wearing Derry's eyes? Yeah.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, he has the brown dairy eyes, and I watched the whole behind the scenes documentary on this, and totally on purpose. They wanted to keep the brown eyes from Derry into this movie. So while those three are outside looking at the tire, we see the students sitting in the bus when suddenly a news report comes on the radio about the events of the first film. And this is where we find out that it has been 4 days since Derry and Trish reported the Church of 1,000 Corpses, aka the House of Pain and Pleasure.
Bro, he's had this motherfucking this basement of this church, his house of pain and pleasure, for over 200 years.
Yes.
They mentioned like wooden teeth. Bro, my question is, how old is this church if it was abandoned 200 years ago?
I don't know.
And I'm wondering, like, did the church, you know how like weirdly religious they were back in the day? Was he like the embodiment of Christ when he rose?
I may have something that will somewhat answer that, possibly.
Like, did they find him like a religious embodiment of Christ? So they just let him stash bodies down there or something?
I found out some interesting stuff about the creeper.
Because he has like a cathedral down there.
Yeah,
Like,
he
it's
does.
very religious. It's like a really awful bat church he's got going down there.
It's very metal.
It
Very
is.
satanic panic. So we also find out that the body count is well past 300, with one person on the scene calling it a human tapestry of sadism and a sight he will never forget. And according to the coroner, some of the bodies found had teeth made of wood, meaning some of the victims are well over 200 years old, with all of them missing a head, arm, leg, or some kind of internal organ. So back over at the farm, we see Junior looking around the cornfield for any clues that might point to who took Billy, when he finds a handmade knife that the creeper dropped when he flew off with the kid. He immediately takes the knife to a somewhat still in shock Taggart, who, upon looking at it, quickly finds out that the knife has some kind of magical connection to its maker as it flies out of his hand and into a wall. So basically, it looks like this knife is trying to make its way back to the creeper.
Bro, it is the Iron Giant.
Yes, it is. Yeah, that's a good point. Now, despite this being super weird and almost hard to believe, it does give Taggart an idea, believing he can use the knife's abilities to track down and kill the creeper as revenge for his son's death. So back over at the bus, which I just want to point out, like, how fucking weird the scene with all the dudes laying on top of the bus with their shirts off, like tanning.
Or that they all like to get in groups of 5 and pee as close to each other as possible.
Yeah, I haven't got to that yet, but I guess considering what we know about the director, this totally makes sense.
Yeah. Let's not talk about that.
So anyway, Betty keeps attempting to radio the school, informing them of the blown out tire, but continues to get no response. The same goes for both coaches, as they keep trying their cell phones but getting no reception. And this is where they decide to get everybody back on the bus and attempt to drive as far as they can with the bad tire. Yeah, so this is where they do the peeing right next to each other, which is like super weird. You have this whole fucking cornfield and you decide to piss just inches away.
That's not even inches. They're like shoulder
to shoulder.
sandwiched in there. They're probably holding each other's wieners.
Also,
Weird.
the guy who's giving Izzy shit about the gay rumor or whatever, Jake, he's one of those fucking dudes that pulls his pants all the way down to pee. Guys who do that are psychopaths.
I've never seen a grown man do that.
I remember.
I know there's like 4-year-olds do it when they first learn how to, I guess, pee and without I don't know. I don't have boys. I don't know how old they are when they become potty trained and quit wearing pull-ups. But yeah, they'll drop their pants to their fucking ankles. But yeah, I don't think I've ever seen a grown-ass man do this.
I seen a high school student do it. We had one in our high school that you'd walk in there and his pants were down by his ankles in front of the fucking urinal.
Well, if he
Yeah.
tried to tell me I was gay and that there was a rumor of me being gay because of a scar I had on my face, I would completely roast him. on his pulling his pants down to pee.
Another thing, the guy they call Big K apparently has a little dick. I don't know if you caught it, but when they're pissing, that one guy says, "Hey, Big K, does that come in man size?"
I don't know. I feel like that could be just guy banter, though. Like talking shit to each other.
So one thing I actually found out that was cut out of the movie is you remember he's having trouble peeing, right? So they originally had the reason why in there. So apparently, and I can't believe I can't believe Salva came up with this. The vibrations from the bus give him an erection. So
I can believe Salva came up with that. That's completely believable.
So he's trying to pee while having an erection.
Salva's like, "Can you get an erection on scene so we can make it more realistic?"
It's just like, why? Why put that in there? So stupid. So after the bus gets back on the road, we jump over to the farm real quick where we see Junior welding some kind of frame into the back of the old truck with some hydraulic hoses and the post hole digger laying next to it while Taggart is in his workshop forging blades out of metal. So they are gearing up to go creeper hunting. Fun little fact here, Ray Wise, who in my opinion carries this movie on his back, his fucking jacket actually caught fire during this scene where he's grinding all that metal. Apparently one of these sparks landed in his pocket, caught fire, burnt his chest a little, but he held that shit in and finished the scene like a fucking champ. So good for him.
What a manly man playing a manly man.
Yeah.
He's like, I can't bitch out here. I'm playing this like tough farmer guy who's going to build some death machine for vengeance for my son.
He's the only character I really like in the movie.
Yeah. They do get some of the forging right. I don't know why they didn't I don't know, maybe for like movie purposes they couldn't heat what he was forging up, like actually heat it up, because it's clearly not like glowing at all when he's hammering on it.
I don't know.
But they did get like the quenching the metal, like hardening it. We were talking about, I don't know what the fuck we were talking about the other day, but I was telling you about that. They got that part right.
So back over at the bus, we see it is now nighttime and Betty is slowly driving down the highway back towards the school. Rhonda then tries to talk to her boyfriend Scotty about why he is so upset, and he reveals that, according to him, he is the reason the team even got to the championship, but he only got to play 12 minutes, informing her that he believes the coach, Hannah, is racist. Keeping the white man down, he says.
Yeah, 80% of the team is white. He said, I think I'm the wrong color to play on this team.
Yeah, so
what?
The thing with him is, if you were the reason they got the championship, but you only played 12 minutes, I think maybe you're not the reason.
Yeah.
You wouldn't sideline your star player that got you there just to be a dick. It's just like, you're at the championship. Why would you risk losing just to be racist towards one of 20 white guys?
Well,
he benched all the white guys. Just a couple black guys played the whole game.
There's only 3 black guys, I think?
I think so, yeah.
Out of 12 or 15?
I don't know.
Yeah, bro,
I think there's a second bus.
Was this character black initially when they were writing it? I could see him making the comment, the token white boy got all the time, making fun of the more white acting black guy, and then him making the comment, I'm the wrong color to play on this team. But this makes no sense coming from a white guy.
I don't know.
Is he one of those white guys that thinks he's black? Does he tell people, I'm black?
I don't know.
My great-great-great-grandfather was black, so I have...
I'm 2% African-American over here.
I have a black card. I literally carry it. I made it on Microsoft Paint.
While this is going on, we also see that Minxie is taking a little nap on the bus when she suddenly has a vision where she is transported back to daytime. And as she is looking out the bus window, she then spots Derry, who is trying to tell her to turn around. So, quick thing here, Derry is wearing that yellow shirt that says Bannon from the first movie, Well, it turns out that Bannon is the high school that these kids go to, so Derry went to the same high school as them.
A lot of cornfields here for Florida.
Yeah, I can't really remember. I haven't drove through Florida in a long time. I know there's cornfields, but I don't know if there's this many.
Ain't this man? No, this is. I'm telling you, this is Iowa, Utah. And this is actually California. Is that where you said they shot this?
Yeah.
Well, California sure has some place that looks like Iowa or Utah. It's a whole goddamn coast, but it ain't Florida.
So anyway, back to the vision. So Derry is trying to tell her to go back and that the creeper is in the cornfield, but she has no idea what he's talking about. So she then sees a very bloody looking Billy who is also trying to warn her when suddenly the creeper is running towards them full speed and this catches her eye. The creeper then starts to slow down where we see him throw another ninja star that hits another one of the bus's tires, causing a blowout. And when this happens, the bus almost loses control, which wakes Minxie up, revealing that what just happened in her dream also happened in real life. So once the bus comes to a full stop, Betty orders everyone off while handing Coach Hannah some road flares to place out in the street. And right as this happens, a car with a middle-aged man and woman pull up, where the coach asks them if they could alert the police of their situation, to which they agree. For some odd reason, everybody in this town has cars or trucks from like the 50s and 60s. They did this in the first one too.
They're farmers.
They can't afford new cars.
It's not that they can't afford it. They just, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
They don't make them like they used to. So while he is putting the flares out, Betty goes to check the tire where she again finds a homemade ninja star stuck in the shredded rubber, but this time we see Derry's belly button and rose tattoo in the center. And this discovery obviously freaks her and Coach Barnes out, causing her to tell Barnes to get all of the kids back on the bus because she thinks something really weird is going on. And while they are having this discussion, we see Coach Hannah, who is still putting flares out, get yanked up into the sky by the creeper.
I'm glad that the creeper thought that Derry's belly button tattoo was cool, because I didn't. I don't think anybody else did.
No.
He thought it was cool enough to decorate a star. That made me think,
He's going to get one.
how confused do you think the creeper was when he started killing people with tattoos?
Oh,
He was probably like, what the fuck is this?
That's a good point. So one huge mistake I think that they made in this movie is not including the creeper's truck, which we only see the creeper fly around in this movie. There's no
Yeah.
truck.
I thought about that.
But I did find out that they explain this in the third one, which takes place between this one and the first one.
His truck ain't fast enough. He had a lot of places to get around to.
No, so you remember in the first one, he drives to the police station, but he flies away with Derry. The police impound his truck that day. He left it there.
He couldn't get it back? He's a fucking creeper.
He does get it back in the third one, but the third one, they're literally like,
Thought the third one took place the day after.
I don't fucking know. Apparently,
Fuck that up.
apparently he gets it back from the fucking tow company at the end. But
I think it just made more sense for him because most of this movie takes place in one place on the side of the road. Like maybe he parked the truck down the street.
I mean, that's one thing though that I think is really awesome about the first one is the creepy truck.
It is
And
really
it's
creepy.
not in this movie at all. And I don't like him just only flying around. I think
Yeah.
the truck is cool.
I agree. The truck is cool, but the bus is broke down, so there's not a whole lot of driving to be done.
I
in
do-
This movie.
I do like that they go back though and make that make sense. So anyway, the coach gets yanked up into the sky, but unfortunately, nobody saw it happen. They just heard him yell, and when they all turned around, he was just gone, with only a road flare landing where he was just standing. This would be fucking terrifying. To just have this big-ass creature swoop in and grab you, then take you like 20 stories into the air in a matter of seconds. That'd be fucking crazy.
Yeah. I don't get why this other guy's like walking out behind the bus by himself when everybody else like gets in the bus. The bus drivers, I think it's Charlie,
Well,
and she's like yelling for him.
He's putting the road flares out
I
so
don't
they don't
give
get
a
hit.
flying fuck about getting hit. If I seen this shit happen, the last thing on my mind would be a car coming by and missing this giant yellow fucking bus when there's already flares out. Like, what could be possibly more important than not getting yanked up at the speed of sound by a giant something?
Something. Yeah, you have no idea. So everybody's really confused when this happens, prompting Betty to again tell Barnes to get the kids back on the bus while Barnes and her continue to look for Coach Hannah. And while we see the kids getting back in their seats, we catch a glimpse of Betty also being snatched up by the creeper. And what's interesting here is a few of the kids actually see this happen. Barnes then runs over to the bus asking Jake what he saw, and after hesitating for a moment, he tells them that Betty just flew away. And for some reason, this immediately sets Scotty off, who then gets into an argument with Barnes. And while they bicker back and forth, we then see the creeper's talons come down and grab Barnes by the shoulders, attempting to pull him up. Barnes is able to grab part of the bus, allowing Scotty and a few other students to grab his legs and attempt to pull him back in, but it is no use as we see the creeper is too strong and manages to now fly off with Barnes, leaving Scotty's face covered in his blood. What do you think he's doing with them? When the creeper takes them, where do you think he's going to take them? What's he going to do?
I don't know. I thought that, I mean, the people he taken is obviously not ones that he's picked out that he wants to eat a part of them.
Well, he's taking the adults, so the kids would be easier to pick off without them, the adults coming up with a plan or something, because, kids are stupid.
I don't know. I don't think he gives a fuck if they're an adult or not.
I think he picks the
He
three adults
snatches up
off.
that child. He gets a child in the beginning. He
All right.
doesn't go after the adults.
I think he doesn't that time, but I think he realizes that it's going to be, the rest of his next couple hours going to be way easier.
You think if he eats his bus driver, he's going to grow tits?
What?
No. He regenerates like whatever body part he eats.
Well, it's whatever body part he needs. Does he need tits?
No, it's not whatever he needs. It's whatever they say he smells the fear. And he decides, based off of something in your fear, what part of you that he wants to eat. You notice that the creeper never picks females.
Yeah.
He never picks females.
Uh-huh.
So he's either got some homo things going on.
Maybe.
Or maybe
he's a little gay.
He just chooses to be a man. The creeper's not, he just eats parts of men.
Did you just assume his gender?
I'm not. I'm unassuming his gender, that he's genderless and he decides to be a man. And Scotty, when they ask him what he's seen, if the director had any say so, it would have been it had wings and a big fucking cock instead of big wings.
So apparently there was supposed to be an abandoned underground military base close by that these students find later on. And the creeper, when they find this place, the creeper was in there eating a body, which, I think maybe originally he was taking these three to this bunker, right? And inside this bunker, he had all the walls and the ceiling like decorated with those preserved bodies we saw in the church. And they actually wrote the scene and even fully built this set, but they ended up never filming the scenes for it. That's very interesting, in my opinion.
Why did they? I thought he had a factory. Close.
He's got a bunch of places. Yeah, I mean, he's got multiple places, but apparently he's been using
None of them are the House of Pain and Pleasure.
He had a House of Pain and Pleasure Part 2 and a military base. Another really interesting thing is I actually tried to look and see if there was any pictures of this set. I could not find any, but I did stumble across a behind-the-scenes picture for this movie where Salva and his director of cinematography are setting up a shot in the cornfield, and there are these dead skeletons. They're like super old bodies wearing like old armor. And it's very similar to like what the Spanish army wore when they first arrived in North America. And considering Spain used to own Florida, And the movie takes place in Florida.
You think
Makes
he
it-
was like picking off some from this old fort?
I think that there was a scene that was filmed where that shows that he's been killing people for a long time. Yeah. It was a really cool picture. I'll have to show it to you, but it looks awesome. Like the
Spain
bodies look awesome.
Spain sold us Florida because they were people
It's
kept
true.
disappearing out of their
So we wanna know
military.
what-
They're like we got this bat thing. We can't
Yeah.
have Florida anymore.
Yeah. So yeah, all the adults are now gone and the kids are freaking out, especially Scotty, who is totally being a dick to everyone. And as the camera zooms out, we see the students are essentially trapped in the broken down school bus. Back over at the farm, we see that Taggart is sitting and listening to his police scanner when suddenly he hears one cop radio in that they got 2 calls just now, 10 miles apart, about sudden abductions in Kissel County. The other cop then says that these stories are super weird and he thinks that they are POHO related, meaning related to the shit that went down in the first film. Once Taggart hears this, he jumps up and yells for his son, informing him that they are heading to Kessel County to go after the creeper. So while trapped in the bus, the students start looking around for stuff to use as weapons, where Izzy finds a bunch of javelins and Jake finds Betty's flare gun in her emergency box with some extra flares. And it is at this point where Scotty throws out the idea of somebody running to a nearby farm for help. Now, this doesn't go over too well with most of the group, with Scotty and Izzy getting into a heated debate, which leads to Scotty making some homophobic remarks to Izzy. So, one interesting thing about Victor Salvin behind the scenes, obviously considering like what he got arrested for, he's obviously at least somewhat gay. But when I watched the behind the scenes documentary, he really took a liking to the actor who played Izzy. Yeah. He at one point called him a sweetie or sweetheart one time and then made this actor give him a big ol' hug.
I hope that's all he made this actor give him.
Yeah, good point. So Scotty's like, I know you want to fuck all the dudes on this bus, and somehow that makes Izzy's opinion on Scotty's plan invalid. I don't know. But Izzy isn't taking Scotty's shit and tells him that he's fucking stupid, which causes Scotty to lose it, grabbing Izzy by the neck and slamming him against the bus. Double D and Big K. Which these names in this movie are very cringy. It's very upper middle class white guy comes up with names he thinks black guys would use in the hood.
Yeah, like my name's Panic.
Exactly.
Because I don't panic.
Yeah.
We talked about that during that episode of
Yep.
how upper class LA views the hood.
Yeah.
They clearly never been around the hood.
Double D and Big K. That's so stupid.
And not to mention that there's probably no hoods around this town.
Yeah, agree.
These are farming towns. They have like three chicks that go to the whole high school.
Yeah. So they run and they pull Scotty off of Izzy, and this is where we see the tension between Double D and Scotty finally boil over, causing them to have words. But this argument gets rudely interrupted when Minxie and the others spot the creeper being a creeper and watching them through one of the windows.
It is pretty creepy.
Yep.
This would have scared the shit out of me too.
Definitely.
Anything that sniffs you is just
True.
creepy.
This is
I
true.
don't care what it is. Like if I go to the grocery store and somebody is sniffs me, I'm freaked out. Probably just as
Yeah.
freaked out as this.
Before we go any further, now that we are mainly in the bus, I want to talk a little bit about how they filmed the interior bus scenes. So all of the interior scenes were shot in a bus that they built inside an airplane hangar. And basically what they did here was build the bus way wider than a real bus. Then they cut most of one of the sides out, which is why you don't see a ton of driver's side, middle to back camera shots, because that is actually where they cut the big chunk of the bus out. And that's where the camera was a lot of times.
Yeah, you said in the beginning that you mentioned a old airplane hangar was one of the filming locations. I figured it was probably the bus.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk
mainly what they could have shot in there.
I'm about to cover all that right now. But the really cool part is they actually built a forced perspective field and road that matched the real road they filmed on for the outside shots. So every time you see out of the windows, that's all fake, all man-made, and it was only like 30 feet long. But because it's forced perspective, it looks like a super big-ass field. And when you see out of the front of the bus, it looks like a long road, but it's not. It's only like 20 feet.
Dope.
That's cool.
That is cool. It's like
And
when those artists do like forced perspective, like
Yeah.
paintings and shit on the ground.
and it's weird watching them work in this hangar because right next to this bus set was the green screen set where a stuntman was dressed as the creeper hanging by wires in front of a green screen. And the assistant director, he's just going through the storyboards, filming all the flying scenes, literally just feet away from this set.
Yeah, why couldn't I have been blessed to go get a career in movies?
Yeah, if you are really into how to film movies and how sets are done,
I am.
watch the documentary One Day in Hell. It is the documentary where they basically do a documentary for a whole, 16-hour shoot. And it is this stuff that I'm talking about right here. And it's super cool to see. It's cool how they did it. I'll talk a little bit more about some stuff I see in the documentary a little bit further down in the plot. But yeah, really cool. So anyway, back to the story. So yeah, they spot the creeper watching them, and he is totally not trying to hide it because he basically knows he has them trapped. And this causes everyone to freak out and run to the back of the bus. The creeper then jumps onto the side where he finds a window still slightly open, and he begins to sniff the air for, I guess, their fear. And this is where we see for the first time that the creeper has a nose pussy.
Yeah, I was very confused at what that was at first until later on in the movie. But yeah, the nose puss is very disturbing.
Yeah,
Very, very disturbing.
it is a separate set of nostrils on the bridge of his nose that opens and closes, allowing him to smell people's fear.
Victor Silva's like, it'd be really gross. A vagina.
On your nose.
Just a vagina, period. He's like,
Yeah.
ew, no vagina. He's still butthurt over not being able to give the creeper a big black dick.
Yeah. The creeper then ends up at the back of the bus where he begins scoping out the whole group, eventually winking at Scotty, and he kind of does this silly thing where he picks out the ones he wants, which this scene was originally going to be cut, but it tested through the roof with audiences. People love this scene.
Should have been cut.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's silly. I will say here, though, that the makeup looks really good on the creeper. I noticed they changed his color, though. Like, he was more gray in the first one. He's more black in this one.
He brushes the fuck out of his teeth, too.
Yeah.
He's got some...
Well,
he's got a good dentist, man.
For 23 years, like, he's not, even using his teeth. So they're probably in pretty good shape.
I guess so.
No sugar.
Clearly.
Just body parts, just flesh.
Maybe he just takes whose teeth he wants.
Yeah.
Maybe he's like, that guy's got dope teeth, and he just eats his fucking gums, like the whole inside of his mouth.
Well, every time he gets a toothache, he
grows.
just eats a tooth and gets a new one.
Yeah,
Boom.
I would eat a tooth to get
a new tooth?
To avoid a toothache. Yeah,
For sure. So yeah, the creeper is picking who he wants out, where he then sniffs the air again and looks like he's kind of having an orgasm.
yeah. I'm just gonna put it out here. I think the creeper's a little gay.
He kind of seems like he wants to fuck these teenage boys.
This was a thing in the first one too, though. Like he
like
was,
Derry, yeah.
yeah, he was a little creepy on sniffing Derry's underwear. They said that he was enjoying himself quite a bit. Like he may have had a whole creeper come just sniffing Derry's underwear.
That's true.
Yeah, I think he's a little.
He's a little gay.
He gets a little oddly erotic.
Yeah.
Over the people he chooses to want to eat, and it always seems to be guys.
Yeah.
I mean, you got 3 girls here.
Doesn't pick any of them out.
Doesn't even. Yeah, he wants nothing to do with them.
Yeah.
So makes me think that either A, the creeper's a little gay, or B, the creeper is not a man nor woman, and he chooses to be a man, so he only eats the parts from men, so he doesn't grow titties
That's a good
or a vagina.
That's a good observation. It's a good theory.
It's a strong theory. It took me a while to put that theory together. It's like the meme.
23 springs, right?
Yeah. But does he have? If
That's
he's
a good
not a
point.
man nor a woman, we know he doesn't have a penis.
No,
That was already debated.
it does not. He was supposed to, but they removed it, and he's just
What if
nothing
he's
down
just a
there.
butch?
Could be. I don't know. So after that, he then grabs the edges of the back door and begins violently shaking it, which rattles the whole bus and eventually causes a long bolt to fall out of the door, jamming it shut. He then jumps on top of the bus, and after a few minutes of silence, it seems like the creeper has left again, when suddenly Minxie faints, where we see her have another psychic vision. This time, she appears at the Taggart's farm, where she immediately sees the creeper pretending to be a scarecrow. And while she is looking up at him, she hears Derry whisper, "He takes it all, eats everything. He takes it all, he knows no mercy." Derry then appears in front of her and says every 23rd spring for 23 days it gets to eat. Minxie then asks eats what, but when she turns back around, we see Derry missing his eyes as he says eats us.
Eats ass.
Sometimes when he needs it. And right as the creeper's wings fly out, she suddenly wakes back up covered in sweat. So the group then debates whether or not the creeper is coming back, and this is where Minxie jumps in and informs everybody of what she learned about the creeper and her visions, which of course Scotty shoots down because he's a fucking low self-esteem loser. I do want to point out we must have not seen the whole vision because she starts talking about shit that Derry didn't even mention.
Yeah,
It's like, wait, what?
Deleted scene, maybe?
Yeah, she starts talking about him regenerating parts, and Derry didn't say anything about that.
No.
So we just didn't see all of it, I guess. I don't know. So we then jump on over to Taggart, who we see has now retrofitted his old truck with a big-ass homemade harpoon gun that's mounted in the bed of the truck frame. And him and Junior are driving down the highway when they come across the old white car that stopped to talk to Coach Hannah when the bus first broke down. And we see here that the car did make it pretty far, but unfortunately didn't get a chance to alert the police, considering it is now wrecked into a tree with the roof peeled back and the man and woman now completely missing.
Bro, he peeled that shit back like a can of sardines.
I was going to say can of tuna, but that works too. He
Well,
did.
sardine, like he picked them out like sardines.
Oh, good point.
Tuna worked too.
Yeah. Well, sardines also square, like a rectangle can, much more the shape of the car.
And they're like whole bodies of dead fish. They're fucking gross.
Yeah.
I don't know why anybody would ever eat a fucking sardine.
So Taggart investigates this for a moment and immediately puts it together that this is the work of the creeper, when suddenly Bucky from the bus comes over the CB radio begging for help. Taggart grabs the receiver and quickly radios back, asking where they are located. Bucky then responds by telling him they are on Highway 9, but unfortunately there are no landmarks to go by, and Taggart tells him he sounds like he is pretty far down the road. Bucky then begs for him to call the cops because they don't know how much longer they can hold out. Taggart then reassures him that he will do that, but as he ends the call with Bucky, we see that he has no intention of calling the cops because he wants to get there as fast as he can in order to kill the creeper himself.
He said, fuck the police.
He is very much blinded by revenge, and I did see that Salva based this character, I believe, off of the character from Moby Dick, who is hunting Moby Dick, and he literally doesn't care anything, like about anything that happens to any of his crew or the ship or anything. His goal is to fucking kill Moby Dick. Yeah, so that's what this character is based off of.
Yeah, I could see the cops probably not taking too well to him having a homemade gun that he's built onto his truck, but they could also show up there and fuck it up for him. So yeah. They're gonna don't get in the way of his revenge.
So after this, we jump back over to the bus where we see the group is cheering now that help is on the way. Bucky then stands up relieved that he finally got someone on the radio when suddenly the creeper punches through the roof and grabs him by the head, pulling him upward. Izzy and Double D quickly grab Bucky and pull him back down when Rhonda then runs over and jams a javelin through the roof and into the creeper's shoulder, briefly injuring him, but not enough to cause him to let Bucky go. She then strikes him with the javelin again, this time getting him through the head, causing him to let Bucky go and become very dazed and confused about what just happened. I do love the little touch of Derry's eyeball still like sticking on the end of the javelin when we get like the overhead shot. That was cool. So the creeper got this basically a spear sticking out the back of his head. And at first, he tries to just pull it out, but he quickly realizes that it's in there pretty good. So he ends up just ripping it out of the side of his head, taking a big ass chunk of his skull with it. Now, this fucks the creeper up, where he attempts to fly away, but I guess after a few minutes, goes unconscious, where he then falls back to Earth, landing on top of the bus, shattering all of the windows and leaving a big dent/hole in the roof. So, with the creeper fully unconscious on the roof, the group realizes now is their chance to run away. But when they try to open the door, they find it is stuck closed. And basically, what happened here is when the creeper smashed into the roof, it jammed the door. They then try the emergency back door, but it is also stuck and jammed shut. And this is where Izzy realizes that when the creeper shook the door really hard earlier, it caused that bolt to fall out. He wasn't trying to get in, he was actually trapping them in there. It's funny because on the set, they actually referred to this bus that they would film in as the creeper's lunchbox. It's where he keeps his food, which I'd say is
I
fitting.
like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. I bet the creeper would like that.
The creeper would totally, it's better than House of Pain.
Yeah, if he called his church basement the House of Pain, I feel like he would like that.
Oh, for sure.
The lunchbox of pain.
And pleasure. So while they're trying to get one of the doors open, all of the shaking of the bus causes one of the creeper's wings to fall through the hole in the roof, which essentially splits up the group. Now, my guess is, and I don't know this for sure, but you remember when I told you that they built the wings for a scene in the first movie, but they didn't use them?
Oh, yeah. I thought about that during this whole scene.
I think that they ended up using them here because when they were filming this scene coming up, the special effects guys warned the director that the hole in the roof was too small. And when they went to pull the wing back up with the guy in it, it was going to shred their only set of wings for the whole production. So they ended up having to make the hole bigger, which Salva didn't originally want to do because he was really picky about the continuity of the movie. But they had no choice because it was going to fuck up their only set of wings. So I think that was the set of wings from the first one. Also, this scene is most of the behind the scenes documentary. It's this scene right here. And it took a whole 5 days to shoot. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought about because in this movie, they do mostly CGI wings too, except in this scene. And when I seen this, I was like, this is what the wings should be, like during the whole movie. Like,
Yeah.
I get when he's flying off, you can't do it, but his wings should always be legit wings like this.
Yeah. So anyway, the group is split up and they, one by one, very cautiously crawl under it to get to the other side, trying very hard not to disturb the creeper. That is, until dumbass Dante literally pushes the wing out of his way, pauses to tell everyone it is as light as toilet paper, when suddenly the wing wraps him up and starts to pull him through the hole in the roof. By the way, the shot where we see like the wing is like stretched over him and you see his face through the wing is awesome. I love that.
This whole scene's actually awesome. The whole head regeneration, even when he's pulling the like javelin thing out of his head, I thought that was fucking really good looking too. This is where I say that they took a lot more risk in showing a lot more of the creeper, and I think it paid off really well because they had not only a really good makeup effects team, but they had the one from the first one that could recreate. They probably had all the appliances and stuff that they needed for his face, and they were able to pull it off, and I think it was a risk well taken.
So Double D and Izzy, once again, for like the third or fourth time, runs over and grabs the guy that the creeper is trying to take. and they're trying to pull him back into the bus. Now, this does kind of work because the wing eventually lets him go after like a few seconds. But unfortunately, the creeper kept some of him.
I think this was the part that he wanted. I don't think he cared about the rest. Like,
Yeah, I
he
agree.
needed a head.
I agree.
So,
We then see, in my opinion, the worst shot in the whole movie as
agreed.
Izzy and Double D look stunned at the sight of Dante's now headless and shirtless body still standing and attempting to fight the creeper off. This is
It's
stupid.
also CGI,
It's-
like decapitation.
Okay.
It's awful looking.
I got a funny story about this scene. So Victor
It should have
Salva,
been deleted.
Victor Salva was dead set on having him shirtless.
Oh God.
His reasoning was that a headless body still moving around has been done 1,000,000 times. It is super easy to do practically and wouldn't be impressive at all to audiences. But a shirtless body will leave people wondering how the fuck they pulled that off.
With
I
CGI.
Guess he never thought we'd seen CGI before.
Yeah.
Now, this is where it gets interesting because the special effects, this is in the documentary, the special effects team made up a dummy for the scene. And when they brought it to set for filming, Salva got pissed because they put clothes on it. And he was like, well, that shows how much they actually read the fucking script. I intentionally put in there that he is shirtless. So he made them fix it.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, he was pissed. They just put regular clothes like on the body, and he was like, "What the fuck is this? He's supposed to not have any shirt on."
He really, really, really does not like clothes on
Men.
teenage boys.
So now, now that the creeper has Dante's
don't
head.
don't talk about the director like that. Call him a creep.
So now that he has Dante's head, he eats it. Where we then see him tear off his own head, throw it on the ground, and Dante's head comes up from his stomach through his neck and reemerges as his new head. And right as the creeper turns towards the camera, his face morphs back into the creeper's. This scene looks really cool. I hate the face morph, but other than that, it's really good.
Yeah, the face morph is, I mean, I'll give him a pass on that because I did not want him to look like this guy. It would have been super fucking weird. So I guess you would have had to morph it and CGI somehow, or you could have just cut the scene and then him look like the creeper again after that.
Yeah.
Slowly start turning back into the creeper.
Don't do the face
But
morph.
everything else was fucking phenomenal
Agree.
about this scene. The little spider,
Yeah.
the spider leg wings that he has that go around his head
Mm-hmm.
that look really cool in the first movie when he has Derry at the end and we see him like expand for the first time, and we actually get to see that this is what holds the head on, and it like releases the old head, rips it off, or he rips it off, but these spider legs let it go. I thought that it was a really cool touch showing the head come through his body. I thought it was really Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah,
They do like the Freddy, like his face coming through the wall,
Mhm.
or all the heads poking through his body, like seeing the head move up. Thought it was cool, man. The whole scene was really, really cool.
Yeah, when I seen this scene, it kind of made me think the spider thing may be the head, like the
The
actual
actual
brains.
creeper.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, because we do see when he rips his head off, like that big chunk, he doesn't have a brain in there. It's just looks like a bunch of black Spanish moss.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we also see later on he gets his arm and his legs ripped off. That's all that's inside his arm and legs as well. So I almost wonder if like the creeper, the brains of the creeper, the real creeper is the spider thing, and it just uses this body as like a suit almost,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can agree with that, and it almost equates to like there's the carving on the knife in the beginning, and it's very much like there's the sun and there's these people and they're like slowly ascending into the sky. It was very like UFO-like almost. So it makes you wonder if the creeper came from like another planet
yeah,
or something
maybe.
like 1,000. And it made me think very like Pennywise, how Pennywise came here from another planet and he kind of just takes whatever your greatest fear is, he takes that form. Well, the creeper takes the form of people because he obviously has to eat body parts to regenerate. So it just makes sense that he would take the form of a human shaped body, but that this spider is actually like part of what is really the creeper.
Well, the spider is the only part of him I would assume he can't regenerate
Yeah, he
because we
can't.
don't have those.
Unless he eats a spider.
Yeah, I don't know if it
That's
works like that,
stupid.
but I could see, like, if I'm trying to kill him, I'm gonna go for the spider thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
especially just holding his head on.
yeah.
Like, I think the spider thing is probably much bigger under the clothes on his backside,
Mhm.
and it's what's holding everything together.
Yeah.
Is what allows him to regenerate body parts.
So once he's got his new head, he takes off back into the night sky, and this is when Scotty finally gets the door pried open and he says it is time to go. But he doesn't mean time for him to go, he means the ones that the creeper picked out earlier, meaning he wants to kick, like, a bunch of the students off the bus, thinking that the creeper has no reason to fuck with the bus if everyone that he wants to eat is like running down the road. So Scotty then decides that they should all vote whether to kick Bucky, Jake, and Double D off the bus, but this never happens because Double D ends up putting Scotty into the fucking wall, reminding him that the creeper picked him out as well. And the vote doesn't really matter because him and Big K have decided that they're going for help. And as they exit the bus, we see most of the students leave with them, which, after thinking about it for a moment, Scotty takes off after them.
Nobody likes you, Scotty.
No,
You
nobody wanted
suck.
to even stay behind with you. We then get an above shot of like 15 kids walking down the road with Scotty arguing with Rhonda as the creeper quietly flies above. Izzy then spots him and points him out, sending a surge of panic through the group, causing them to try and get back on the bus. But unfortunately for them, Johnny says fuck no, choosing to keep the door locked, forcing the group to scatter as they take off running into the field. The creeper then goes after them, where he immediately picks off Jake by lodging a ninja star into the back of his head. He then throws another one which lands in Scotty's arm, pinning him to a tree, where Rhonda, Izzy, and Double D run over to help him. Fuck that, I would 100% not help this dude.
Yeah, there ain't no way I'm risking my life to save him.
Hell no.
I would have actually helped the creeper. Have been like, I will help you.
I'll hold him down.
Yeah. I also thought it's interesting that Johnny doesn't let them back on the bus. It sounds like he listened to what Scotty was saying and maybe thought that some of that was a good idea.
Well,
Like if all of them are trapped
Yeah.
out there, I'm probably a lot safer in this bus.
Yeah, that's a good point. So after a bit of struggling, they finally get Scotty free, but unfortunately for him, it is too late as the creeper swoops in, grabs Scotty, and flies off into the night sky, which, thank God, I was so fucking tired of that character. So by this point, the majority of the group has scattered and run off in different directions, where we see Minxie get discovered by Taggart and Junior, who place her in the truck and head towards the bus. And speaking of the bus, we then see Bucky use the hole in the roof to get back in, scaring the shit out of Chelsea and Johnny, who were the only ones who decided to stay. And as he explains to them that he wasn't able to find any nearby farms, the creeper punches through the roof, grabbing Bucky by the head again. But this attack is pretty short-lived as the creeper is interrupted by the old truck pulling up with Junior, placing a spotlight on him. And this, in my opinion, is the coolest shot in the whole movie.
Yeah, awesome cinematography on the I would imagine you're talking about him standing on the bus with the
Yes.
fucking his
Wings,
and
yeah.
the light shining behind him.
Yep.
Awesome
Should have been the
silhouette.
fucking movie poster. That's what I
Yeah.
would have did.
Agree. I hope if Arrow or somebody ever does a release of this, they do this as a poster.
Yeah. So we then get a stare down scene between the creeper and Taggart, where we see that Taggart has fixed the creeper's knife on the end of a spear, which is now locked and loaded in his homemade harpoon gun. This is a genius idea because remember, the knife wants to automatically go back to its owner, which means Taggart can fire the spear in any given direction towards the creeper, and the knife will actually steer it right to him. So it's like a magic fueled GPS guided missile.
It is. It's an Excalibur round.
Yeah. So they have their stare down when suddenly Taggart pulls the trigger, immediately launching this spear right into the creeper's chest, sending him flying backwards into the air. And it is at this time where we see that Taggart has connected the spear to a metal cable that is attached to a reel at the other end, which will allow him to reel the creeper in towards the truck, not letting him get away. Now, this doesn't kill the creeper, it just mostly pisses him off, where we see him open up his wings and try to fly away, effectively jerking this 4,000-pound truck around. As the creeper flaps his wings while attempting to pull the spear out, we see the truck sliding closer and closer towards the bus, even as Junior locks the brakes. One thing I don't really understand is when the truck slams into the bus, Taggart yells out to Junior to get around the bus, but that's a dumb move considering the weight of the bus is the only thing keeping the truck in place.
I thought he said get on the bus because the truck was starting to get pulled around the bus. Like it was moving to the right. And I thought he was telling them to stay on the bus, cut the wheel left so they can keep the weight of the bus holding them in place.
No, it's actually the opposite. He's continuously telling him to get around the bus, which is why he slowly works the truck from the back of the bus to the side of the bus. And I guess it was just because if the creeper kind of goes down in front of the bus, he won't be able to see him.
Maybe it was his winch too. Yeah, I'm worried about it.
Maybe
when people are fishing and they got a big fish,
his line snaps.
Snap his line.
Yeah, because I typically write the movies with the subtitles on, and he repeatedly yelled "Get around the bus," and he's literally trying to cut the wheel to the right to get around it. But yeah. So anyway, as this is going on, we see Taggart start to reel the creeper in, who is just wildly flying around the night sky when suddenly he stops, having now removed the spear, as he throws it back at the truck, with Taggart spotting it and yelling for his son to get out as fast as he can. Which he can't because the bus has now blocked his door, so the spear then slams into the truck with massive amounts of force, shattering the windshield, but thankfully Junior survives with only minor cuts. So while Junior gets the truck up and running again, we see Taggart in the back attempting to reload the harpoon, at the same time as the creeper is flying towards him, prepared for an attack. The creeper then reaches max speed as he swoops in low, coming up to the opposite side of the bus, forcing Taggart to fire the next spear through the bus windows, hitting the creeper with a direct shot, sending him tumbling somewhere way out into this field. Now, what is important here is, because he fired through one side of the bus and out of the other, there is now a steel cable running through the bus with one end attached to the truck and the other attached to the creeper, which is about to become very important. So as everyone stares out into the field in silence, waiting to see if the creeper is still alive or not, he quickly answers their question as he shoots into the sky with the cable and spear still attached. He then uses this to his advantage as he flies up and over them, causing the cable to tighten and begin rolling the bus over onto the truck. Thankfully, though, Junior is able to get the truck out of the way just in time before the bus completely flips over, and once it is on its side, the cable begins cutting through the metal roof, effectively cutting part of the bus in half. Once this happens, Junior realizes that the creeper is about to yank the truck out into orbit and begs his father to get out before the slack in the cable runs out, but all Taggart cares about is fixing the harpoon so he can fire another shot. Luckily, though, he is able to come to his senses right before this happens, jumping out of the back right as the truck goes flipping down the road. Bro, this truck gets extremely fucked up.
And it probably still functions just as good because they don't make them like they used to.
I watched this back a few times, and like 2 of the wheels get completely snapped off, and the frame itself twists. There's no fixing this truck.
Huh. Wonder what they did this with.
I don't know.
They brought like a crane on set.
They did a lot of crane work in the behind the scenes. So yeah, that's possible. I would say it looks like he's gonna have to use Billy's life insurance money to buy a new truck.
Yeah.
Because they ain't gotta bury him. It's a
No.
free and clear money. So now that Taggart and his harpoon gun is trashed, we then jump over to Izzy, Rhonda, and Double D, who are just sitting in the field pretty defeated. That is until Izzy runs over and tells him that he thinks he found a way out. So Izzy then takes him over to a wrecked truck he found, which is the exterminator guy we saw past him in the beginning of the movie. And this is where it is discovered that the creeper obviously took the old man that was driving, but he left the keys. So now they have a working vehicle. But right as they go to get in it, the creeper flies over them, prompting Izzy and Rhonda to jump into the cab and Double D to hop in the bed. Izzy then starts the truck and takes off down the road with the creeper in hot pursuit. And despite the fact that Izzy is pushing the pedal to the metal, the creeper is quickly gaining on them, with Double D his intended easy target, which prompts Izzy to have to come up with a plan fast. Izzy then drives off the road and into the field, where he yells for Double D to get all the way down, while he then pushes Rhonda out of the truck, which, by the way, would have 100% fucking killed her.
Yeah. Yeah, he pushes this bitch out the truck like he's done this a time or two.
If you
Like,
push...
he don't even hesitate. He's like, he definitely looks like he's done this before.
If you get pushed out of a truck sideways at like 50 mile an hour, it's going to break your fucking neck. Like whether you barely, whether you roll or not, like you're going to die. So now with the cab somewhat empty and Double D lying down in the back, Izzy slams on the brakes, causing the creeper to slam into the back of the truck, going through the cab and causing the truck to do a front flip and throwing Double D out of the back and into the field.
This also probably would have killed you.
100%. In real life, Izzy's plan would have most certainly killed himself and his 2 classmates.
Yes.
This was a terrible plan. So Double D wakes up about 70 yards from the wreck.
He survived 70.
Dude, it's unreal.
He flew 70 yards and he just wakes up.
With a broken leg. Izzy, who didn't even have his seatbelt on, somehow survives this fucking front flip at like 50. Yeah. Rhonda, I mean, I don't know if she's dead or not. We don't ever really know. She has to be dead. He wakes up easily.
The creeper went to go get her body and was like, ew, that's a chick.
No,
I don't want that.
So yeah, he wakes up like 70 yards from the wreck, discovering that all he has is a compound fracture to one of his legs, meaning he can only crawl. But there is good news. Laying right next to him is one of the creeper's severed wings, meaning this motherfucker cannot fly anymore. But that is not all he is missing, because as the truck explodes, Double D sees that the creeper is missing an arm and a leg, but is literally hopping towards him. Hate this scene. It's so silly.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
He looks like a giant frog.
Frog or a grasshopper.
It's just
like, you know how grasshoppers jump, but they don't quite have the accuracy to, like, you can tell when a grasshopper jumps, they're not quite sure exactly where they're going to land. They're just hopping in whatever general direction that they need to go. That's what he's doing.
Well, one thing that makes it worse is every time he hops in the air, he flails his one arm and one leg around. Like, he doesn't even hold it still. Like, he just looks fucking goofy. So the creeper ends up catching him and pinning him to the ground, but considering he only has one arm, Double D is able to hold him off, at least for now. But right before the creeper can bite him, we suddenly see one of Taggart's spears hit him right in the forehead, sending him flying backwards. Double D then sits up where he spots Taggart's truck with Junior, Minxie, Bucky, Chelsea, and Johnny all piled in. They then run over to the now very injured creeper, who is laying on the ground trying to pull out the spear with his one arm. Him and Taggart then stare each other down again for a moment before Taggart then starts repeatedly stabbing him in the heart with the spear, which, if I remember correctly, I think he stabs him like 36 times. One for every year Billy would have lived before dying on the farm from being worked to death by his father.
It's like, who the fuck is gonna run my farm now?
Yeah.
You've ruined my child labor.
Yep. Anyway, despite this, the creeper refuses to die until finally the sun starts to come up, ending day 23, where we then start to see the creeper's like body cocoon wrap him up, and he basically becomes a mummy for the next 23 years.
I thought this was fucking super cool looking too.
Well, it did
like
look awesome.
seeing his cocoon,
Oh yeah, 100%
like
awesome.
like the spiders things like wrapping around his
Mhm.
face and locking together, and then you zoom out and you see his wings have done the same thing.
Yeah.
Cool as fuck.
So we then jump to almost 23 years later, where we see two young men and a young woman driving up to the Taggart's farm. Again, with another like old ass 1960s truck. This truck would be like fucking 60 years old at this point. Definitely not something I would take on a road trip.
You think Taggart's waiting for him to wake up because he still needs his son's body for the life insurance? You can't even collect life insurance because he don't have a body.
Really? You can't just like get him declared dead?
You can after like 5 years, but you have to petition it through the court, and it takes, I think,
Takes a couple years, yeah.
yeah, I know each state has different laws before you can be legally declared dead, but I think most states it's about 5 years if there's no body. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that's why he was going after the creeper.
So they pull up to the barn where they meet a much older junior who informs them that it costs $5 apiece to see the monster. After they pay, he then directs them to the barn where it is kept, and as they walk in, they spot the shriveled up remains of the creeper who has now been crudely sewn back together and hung up on the wall like Jesus on the cross, with a hand-painted sign above him that says, "Bat out of hell." This was actually the first time I noticed it, but older Junior still has the scar across his nose from where the spear almost got him in the cab of the truck.
Hmm.
Yeah, I've never noticed that before. At first, the teens are pretty disappointed, believing it to be fake. When one of them goes to touch it, they then hear a voice from behind that says, "Don't." The three of them then suddenly turn around where they spot a now very old Taggart sitting in a chair next to his homemade spear gun aimed right at the creeper. They then start asking him questions about it, where he informs them that he killed it by stabbing it in the heart with his harpoon gun. They then ask him how long ago this was, and he responds, about 23 years ago, give or take a day or two, telling us, the viewer, that the creeper is about to wake up any day now, which is the sequel we all wanted but never got.
Man, the creeper's gotta be thinking, for fuck's sake. Like, I've been doing this shit for 1,000 years, and I've gotten, like, multiple close calls in a 4-day span. Like, I'm just having bad luck. This is a bad spring.
Yeah, bad spring.
And do you think, like, he just ran out of time? Like, it was his 23rd day, so his body just cocoons up
Yeah.
in the middle of all this shit?
Yep.
He's like, who the fuck knows where I'm gonna wake up?
Yeah. It's like a really drunk night.
Yeah. Bro, I would have definitely put this motherfucker through a grinder.
Yeah.
Like a tree grinder.
For sure.
I would not have just waited for him to wake up
No.
with him pinned to a wall.
He looks fucking awesome though.
He does.
And on Salva's trailer at the airplane hangar, which is where they would watch the dailies at, they have like a smaller version of this hanging on the trailer. It's fucking cool.
I hope somebody owns this prop.
Yeah, I hope so too. Yeah, that's the end of Jeepers Creepers 2. I think everybody wishes that we could get the sequel where he wakes up and Taggart sitting there. I mean, I remember seeing this forever ago and being like, oh man, the third one's going to open up right here in the barn, and we never got that.
Maybe the fourth one did. I don't think I've ever even watched it.
Doubt it. All right, so a couple facts here. This film is included on Roger Ebert's most hated list.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
I know we like to pick on him, so I had to include that. As revealed in the comics, the Creeper's evil goes back millennia at one point demanding human sacrifice and even having been responsible for wiping out the entire Roanoke colony.
Huh.
Cool.
I mean, that if he's been here 1,000+ years, like, that's not even that long ago for him.
Yeah. After eating parts of its victims, the creeper sews them with thick thread and exhibits the body as art in his lair. After he is defeated, Taggart sews the dismembered parts of the creeper in the same way while also displaying his body.
They
Yeah,
they never say what the creeper treats the bodies with.
No. Yeah, definitely doesn't. So originally, the creeper was to use the dead bodies of Coach Hannah and bus driver Betty as puppets so that the students would come to their rescue and be captured. This scene was storyboarded, but in the end, it was never filmed. That would have been awesome. That would have been so creepy.
Yeah, that could have been cool. I fucked that up.
Yep. All right, so ratings and kill count. We have a total of 10 kills. It could be higher because we don't know what happened to the rest of the students. A lot of people in their kill counts count that whole group of students as dying. But I only counted deaths that we've seen for the most part. All right, so number 1 is Billy, who was taken by the creeper. 2 is Hannah, Coach Hannah, who was taken by the creeper. Betty, who was taken by the creeper. Coach Barnes, taken by the creeper. Man driving the white car was taken. The woman in the white car was taken. Dante had his head ripped off by the creeper. Jake caught a creeper star to the back of the head. Scotty was taken by the creeper, and the exterminator was taken by the creeper. A lot of people count the creeper as the 11th kill, but we know he's not dead. He's hibernating. So I think we only have 10. All right, so what is your favorite kill? Not a lot to pick from.
Yeah, we don't see a lot of them. So I went with the kid that got decapitated because the whole head regeneration scene
Big
is just
surprise.
fucking awesome. And then my number 2, I went with Scotty because Scotty is fucking awful and fuck Scotty.
I also went with Dante. It was, it was really only the kill we actually see. My second, though, was Coach Hannah because I thought it was kind of cool that they did put him in right in the middle of the frame and you just see something grab him and take off. I like that. I thought it was cool.
That's bad whenever you gotta rationalize with a like split second CGI fly off.
Yep.
Yeah, that's why I just went with Scotty because I'm like, well, at least Scotty was at least enjoyable to know that we don't have to deal with him anymore for the rest of the movie.
Well, and a big reason why I picked the coach over Scotty was because I remembered Scotty, because I hadn't watched this movie in forever. I remembered Scotty getting taken, but I didn't remember the scene with Coach Hannah. So it was like one of the few kills that I didn't remember that kind of caught me off surprise when I watched it at the beginning of the week. All right, so rating. You got to rate this thing. What you got?
So I gave this a 4.0. I balanced between a 3.9, 4.0. I think it's a really good sequel that builds off the character of the creeper. I think they do a fantastic job showing us like the weapons and stuff, like some of the weapons he made, kind of how he regenerates and stuff we don't see in the first one. I love that they build on the first and give us kind of what happened with the church fire and the bodies that were found, how many of them, like how long that some of the bodies dated back. Thought that was really fucking cool. I think he looks amazing. I think that's what really makes this movie. Like, if they would have had a different makeup team and the creeper would have been fucked up, it would have drastically hurt this movie. Like I said earlier, they took a big risk in showing him a lot more, and I think it was a risk that paid off because it was done really good. I also thought the lighting was good in this one. It didn't stand out as much as it did in the first one, but we got that like really awesome shot, that silhouette shot that we talked about earlier. And most of the movie takes place at night, and there was some really good lighting shots in it. I hated the characters, almost every one of them. Like all the kid characters were just
I agree with
completely
you.
way overwritten. It's awful. And way, way too heavy on the CGI.
Yeah.
Those are my two biggest complaints.
I gave it a 3.7. I liked that we got a lot more creeper. I think that Ray Wise killed it. Like, he really carried this, acting wise, really carried this movie. The pacing's fantastic, man. Like, this movie just balls to the wall constantly. There really isn't much downtime. It's just pretty much action packed the whole time. But my biggest thing that I like was the continuity with the first film. Like, it truly feels like an immediate continuation of the first movie. My negatives were a lot of the kind of more sillier, creeper scenes. I just think they should have just took some of that shit out. It was just kind of stupid.
Well, his grasshopper
His grasshopper, where he's like, picking out who he
licking
wants
the
to
window.
eat. Yeah,
It
like,
was homoerotic.
yeah, it was just kind of made him. They were almost like trying to make him like Freddy in that scene, and it just didn't work for me. The characters are way too stereotypical. These are all very unrealistic teenagers
This is
characters.
overwritten. For sure.
You have like the bullied gay kid, you have the bullied nerd, you have the fucking, semi-racist narcissist jock. Yeah, they're all just
all the super awesome names for the only black character.
Yeah, it's just too stereotypical and just very weak character writing. And it has the biggest downside for me, man, was the weak kills. We didn't I noticed. I was like, damn, I didn't realize we only really see 1 kill out of 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would at least like 2 more.
Yeah, and we don't really get to see many, which is why I didn't point it out, and the things that I dislike the most, because we don't get to really see kills in the first one either. That's like one thing that's in this franchise. I think the only kill that we really got to see that stood out in the first one is where he like rips the tongue out of the guy's mouth, and we get that awesome shot.
Yeah.
But a lot of there's just not a lot of killing in the first one. And what there is, like with the cops and stuff, we don't see them. Like, they're snatched off screen. And there is the jail people who are being eaten, but we don't actually see them get killed. So through 2 movies, there's not a whole lot of killing that you actually get to see on screen.
I would say that the reason that I didn't hold it against the first one, but I hold it against the second one, is because the second one has 10 people that very obviously die. The
Yeah.
first one, there's only like 4.
Yeah.
So I'm totally okay with only seeing like 1 or 2 when it's 4. But when I see 1 out of 10, you should have gave us at least like 2 more.
It's definitely in the creeper style to fly off and then kill people off screen. It would be cool to get to see the creeper go back to one of his layers of pain and pleasure and see him actually kill somebody.
Well, we were supposed to see, almost see that with the military base, where we would have got to see the bodies, decorating the wall and ceiling again, and he was supposed to be eating one of the people he took from the bus when the teenagers came in. So,
and that's why, like, the first one, another reason why it gets such a higher rating is even though we don't get to see a lot of them, like the jail scene where he's eating the guy, like the sound, like even just the sounds of it just adds so much to that. And we don't get any of that in this movie.
Yeah, I think it was a good call to do them back to back, though. I think this worked well. Once again, we thank you guys for listening. Please give us a follow or like if you enjoy the show. Check out the website. Check out the socials. Tell a friend, a family member, or a psychic high school cheerleader about the show. And we hope to see you next time.